Hey, what's up guys? Abad Gomez again, owner and operator of Aces Painting, currently building a $5 million painting company. And on the way there, there's many things that we went through to make sure that we're able to understand how to run a business. But one of the biggest investments that I did was books. One of the biggest investments that have paid out tremendously. And as you go into running a business, you're going to see that there are certain things or certain lessons that you can possibly learn from picking up a simple book, and it could save you thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's by going into books. That's one of the biggest investments that I did. And if you're looking to invest in your life and make sure that you make a change and go to growing a $1 million business, invest in books. So this video is not just to tell you that I love books, but to suggest 3 books that really have transformed the way that I communicate in growing my company. Here, I'm going to share 3 books, but before I share that with you, I wanna make sure you guys look at these investments and really make a change. Before, I used to read about 16 to 20 books a year, but it wasn't until I had a conversation with my brother. At that time, I was in a multi-level marketing company selling life insurance, and I was deeply invested in reading books. Deeply invested in reading books. I was self-developing my mind, but I wasn't making any money. So I want you guys to take this to consideration when you guys are looking at a book. If it's really gonna make a life-changing event, or is it a fun read? Because there's a couple books that I read just for fun because I wanna get some information and maybe wisdom, and I'll share them with you right now. But it wasn't until I had a conversation with my brother. At that moment, he was building what Aces Painting was before. Super thankful to my brother that he was able to pave the way on making sure that I make also changes. So not just learning from books, but overall people and their mistakes. But it wasn't until he told me he had this huge argument. I don't even remember what it was about. Huge argument. And at that time we were living together, and I was renting a room in his house. We had this huge argument. I totally forgot about what. But all I could remember was me going back and forth, bickering about something. And then he just told me, he's like, well, you know, you're reading all these books, and what have you really done? And at the moment of the argument, man, you guys probably understand, like when you're angry, you're like, what do you mean, what have I done? You know, what have you done? You haven't done anything. You know, we're going back and forth, and I'm telling him he hasn't done anything. But at this time, this guy was taking in $50,000 checks, driving a nice truck. He had the nice watches. He had over $100,000 in his bank account. At this point, I was just angry and just telling him, well, you're not reading. And I was just kind of like, what I had, my pocket was like, I'm reading hundreds and thousands of books, you know? I'm sorry, not hundred thousands, but I'm reading multiple books, you know, a month. And he's not doing anything. He was, you know, partying, doing all these things, but he was making money. But to the point was, it told me, it's like, well, what does it matter if you're reading all these books, if you're not making any money, if you're not making any changes in your life? I just stood there. I realized that he was right. I wasn't making any money. I was reading a bunch of books, but everything that I was reading, I was just holding it in, and I wasn't really actually making any changes in my life. Book number 1 is Am I Making Myself Clear by Terry Felber. This book is very important on the way that I communicate, because it was actually shared to me, it was actually gifted to me by one of my first clients. And when she gifted this to me, I was a little surprised, but as I read it, I completely understood how many people communicate very differently. And this book really just goes into considering how to make sure that you're clear on communicating, how you set the tone for conversations, but overall, it kind of goes into a couple of things that I want to make sure that I share from the book. His actions spoke so loudly, I couldn't hear what he said. It's true. Actions do speak louder than words. It talks about communicating styles. A lot of the times, people are going to define you more by your actions than what you're saying. And I think you guys probably seen that before, right? But it gives you kind of an awareness of how you use your words, but also how you communicate your actions. So let me see if I could find it here so I could share something really fast with you guys. And I just skipped it, but okay. So this is just one of the things that says, the art of unspoken language. There we go. We cower in fear, we point in accusation, we slump in frustration, we nod or in approval, we shake our heads consternation, we raise our eyebrows in disbelief, we frown in disapproval. A lot of the things that we don't communicate verbally, we show by our actions. And essentially this book really shares on the way that you're communicating with your team, the way that you're communicating with your clients, the way that you're communicating with your family, with your kids, with anybody in your circle. And this really changed the way that I communicate, the way that I show up on a job site, the way that I carry myself, the way that I stand up, the way that I use my hand gestures. I really recommend this book. It really has impacted the way that I communicate with my team, and it can possibly help you. So you guys pick it up. Am I Making Myself Clear by Terry Felber. Super small read too. It's only 130 pages, but it's super, super helpful. Book number 2, and books that I'm sharing with you, I have hundreds of books, but these books are going to give you more an awareness, I believe, in your communication. And one is also like communication, how you handle conversations, but overall how you handle your emotions too. I want to make sure that these books kind of just empower that. And book number 2 is Power versus Force. What I was able to understand with Power versus Force is the power of your emotions. Essentially just how each emotion carries a sense of vibration. I would probably say that's the best word. A vibration that it could either empower somebody or could really discourage someone. So this book is super fun to read. It gives you kind of scientific, so anybody that likes science or just really geeks out on just all the charts and information. But this book gives you an awareness of like where there is, I guess, an empowerment on the level of emotion that you have. So like, let's say if you're feeling shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, these are all low-level emotions. So whenever you feel that way, you feel a sense of empowerment. They're not really a sense of empowerment. They're just a sense of an emotion that is not very well compared to when you feel courage, when you feel acceptance, when you feel a reason, or when you feel wisdom, when you feel love, when you feel joy, when you feel peace, when you feel enlightenment. These are all higher level consciousness emotions. And just being able to understand this scalability, or I guess this graph here, it gave me an awareness of what I'm feeling as an emotion. So if I'm feeling angry, then I need some time to just not say anything. If I'm feeling shameful, or if I'm feeling, I guess you could say in a way it's like if I'm feeling envious, or if I'm feeling jealousy, all these bad emotions, then I'm coming to understand why I feel them, and I set back compared to back then. So let's say that there's something on the job site. So we go back to the job site to make sure that you guys understand why this book is important. If you're angry, then you really understand that you're in a low scale of emotion, so it's futile to use it. So number 2 is going to be Power versus Force, and that's by David R. Hawkins. That's going to be book number 2. And my third book, I was 80% finished with it on my flight to Japan, but I've been reading it for about 6 months, and that's going to be Crucial Conversations, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. And that is by a couple, I guess, authors, Patterson, Grenny, Macmillan, Switzler, but here's the book itself. And Crucial Conversation has been able to help me really learn how to put out fires, making sure that you create a safe environment. And it talks about just essentially just being able to work with, I believe, a structure on how you handle your conversations. And I wanted to share a couple of things with you guys, but at the moment, I would probably just tell you to just pick up the book. Crucial Conversations has been able to help me handle conversations at home with my children, with my girlfriend, with my partner, with my managers, with my leaders in the group. But this book has been able to really help me also be more effective when I make my decisions, when I need to get some help, if I have to form a way of consultation, create a consensus, or delegate some decisions to make. But it was able to give me a better understanding on how to have a critical conversation, if there is a reason to have a critical conversation, or if somebody is like just putting their unrealistic, I guess, expectations on you, how to handle them, how to make sure that the other person feels safe, how to make sure that the other person understands where you're coming from. And it really breaks down a lot of conversations in the book, so it can help you and guide you to make sure that you're doing the right steps. Now, all these books, they're gonna give you a better understanding, but they're not gonna give you all the answers. You guys really have to work it out and really have to practice this out. Like I mentioned before, we go back to the story when my brother tells me, hey, you know what does it matter if you're reading hundreds of books? You know, I've read hundreds and hundreds of books. What does it matter if you're not putting it into action, if you're not practicing what you read, if you're not practicing what you preach, right? What does it matter? So when you guys read these books, make sure that you start practicing it. Make sure that you guys are highlighting, taking notes. I've done that with all my books. I stopped doing it a little bit because then I was, sharing books and they're all highlighted and stuff. So I started taking notes. But make sure that you start even creating a YouTube video about it, what you learned, or just recording yourself. Anything that's gonna help you go to the next level, set a different standard for yourself. And those are the 3 books that are gonna help you communicate better conversations, and understand your emotions when you're dealing with hard decisions in your life. So if you guys want to continue to learn more about books, or you just want to develop yourself and become a better leader, guys, like the video, share it, and I'll see you on the next one.